Like many intellectuals tormented by metaphysical desire, Charles is extremely perceptive when it comes to the types of mediation through which he has already descended. He perceives clearly, for example, that only their bad faith permits the Verdurin type bourgeois to continue to worship dead gods. He is all the more irritated by the fact that mediocre people are still deceived by tricks which he has already seen through. Yet his extremely lucid intelligence cannot protect him against the fascination which beings less vulnerable than themselves always hold for those possessed by metaphysical sickness. The enchantment is all the more horrible now that the victim is able to penetrate the absurd secret. We can already see in this the futile clairvoyance of the underground man face to face with Zverkov. It is the impotent fury of many intellectuals when confronted with the bourgeois. Charles' very eloquence on the topic of his desired persecutor's non-entity is an attempt to convince himself. He is indeed an intellectual in that he attempts to use his intelligence as a weapon against his mediator and against his own desire. Using his murderous lucidity, he hopes to penetrate that arrogant thickness and insolent inertia. He has to keep proving that the radiant mastery which the mediator seems to enjoy is a blatant illusion. In order the better to demystify himself, Charles spends his time demystifying others around him. He wants constantly to destroy, quote, prejudices, end of quote, which are indeed perfectly real, but which all his talk cannot penetrate. Thus, Charles understands Madame Verdurin much better than she understands him. The pictures he gives us of the patroness and his criticism of middle class chauvinism are wonderfully true and vivid. His knowledge of the fascinating other is penetrating because it is based on a knowledge of himself. It is a haughty caricature of genuine wisdom. Transcendence toward the nadir is a mirror likeness of transcendence toward the zenith. The analogy between deviated transcendency and vertical transcendency never fails. What the fuck does that mean? Fucking guy. When he reveals the truth about the bourgeois and the desires hidden by hypocrisy, Charles is not unaware that he is also revealing his own desire. As always, lucidity is rewarded by a thickening of the shadows with respect to oneself. The psychological circle is now so small that Charles cannot condemn the other without condemning himself before the eyes of the world. The contradictions which were hidden at the Verdurin stage of mediation are now brought out into the light. Charles no longer tries to keep up appearances. He remains prostrate at the feet of his mediator, his eyes glued to him. Every gesture, every sentence, every imitation proclaims the truth. After the walled-up silence of the bourgeois, we now have a flood of words, sometimes truthful, more often mendacious, but whatever comes from this contorted mouth is always extremely revealing. Charles is luminous and sheds light all around him. No doubt there is some obscurity along with this light. It is the murky light of a smoking lamp, but nevertheless we are brilliantly illuminated. The narrator, therefore, is no longer necessary for the novel's revelation. When Charles occupies the foreground, Marcel discreetly disappears. The moment the Baron appears within a budding grove, Proust's usual technique is replaced by a technique of pure description that is objective and almost behaviorist. Charles is the only character whom the narrator allows to talk without interruption. The Baron's great monologues are unique in remembrance of things past. They are self-sufficient. Some of the words of Madame Verdurin, Legrandin, or Bloch would take volumes to explain. In the case of Charles, all that is necessary is a little focusing, a slight smile, a simple wink.